So the other thing we came across is people who want to add chemicals to rainwater harvesting systems. So in the old days, they'd say, oh, there might be mosquitoes in my rainwater harvesting system, so I used to throw kerosene in and sit it on the surface layer. But what we've discovered, and what I've explained in this talk, is the surface layer stores a lot of bacteria, materials and debris, including potential mosquito larvae, if you don't have mesh screens on your tank, which all modern designs do. So nice concept, but not very useful and quite harmful if your tank draws down a bit and the kerosene mixes in with your water supply. You really don't want that, and you don't need it. You should have the proper size mesh screens on your inlets and outlets to stop things crawling in, and any fine debris that enters the tank is most likely to be caught at that surface layer. Leave it there, don't touch it. The other things are, the other question I answer all the time with phone calls and in the media and so on is, there's lots of products people have made to say, we'll just add these chemicals to rainwater harvesting systems to improve the quality. Well, quality is pretty good, thanks very much. You can have a filter on your tap, I do in my own house, I have a 0.1 micron filter. You can do a range of things without adding chemicals. If you're adding chemicals to a rainwater harvesting system, you need to be prepared for the consequences. For the chemicals are not harmless. For instance, a chlorine is a poison that very carefully applied takes bacteria out of mains water systems. You want to be careful about applying such a chemical to a rainwater system. It's also an organic system, because chlorines and organics don't mix well together, they make harmful substitutes. But if you're thinking of adding something to your rainwater storage, we found it's not such a great idea, but if you are thinking about it, you need to have a good reason to do so. So, say if you turn your tap on and the water is a strange colour, a greeny grey colour, and it smells like rotten eggs or bad BO, there's the normal consequences of organic contamination. And the next thing you do, you look in the tank, look in the top, and if you can see the water column, not the very surface, whatever's on the surface doesn't really matter, because as I said, it just stores there, but what's below the surface in the water column, if that's got fine material suspended in it everywhere, the process you would use is you would wait 6 to 24 hours to see if that settles and goes away, and if it doesn't, then you would say, I need to do something about it. In this situation, adding a chemical to it will actually make that problem worse. It will not take the contamination out of the water column. You'll have to empty the tank in that situation, or use the tank for a use like on the garden, for so on. So, you know, a coloration and an odour in the water column will not be removed by a chemical like a chlorine or peroxide. So if you've got that problem, adding a chemical is not going to fix it. You can wait for 24 hours to see if it settles out and the rainwater tank natural system is good enough to overcome it, and it often does, and that's what rural people do. And if it doesn't overcome it, you'll have to use the water on the garden or some other way and empty the tank and let it fill again. The only real time you might add a chemical to your tank if you're sure there's a microbial contamination that might be harmful at the tank, and you'd use it to disinfect the tank. But if you do that, you're actually destroying all the other good bacteria in the tank, and you actually have to start again. I personally can't think of a good reason to add a chemical to a tank. I can think of some good reasons every now and again, with the right checking processes in place, to empty the water column, to remove smells and discoloration of the water itself, and if the sludge gets too deep, to occasionally clean it out to remove it.
But Peter, you think that if you see some discolouring or odour, that you should look back at the design of the whole system and see whether that's a starting point to improve what's going on with the system?
That's a really good point, Mike. If something goes wrong, like there's an odour or a discoloration of the water, cleaning the tank doesn't solve the problem, it just fixes the symptom. What that sort of symptom or outcome is telling you, there's something wrong with your design. And it could be, say, if you've got a charge system where the rainwater goes underground and back up again into your tank. In that situation, you mightn't have properly trapped stop leaves and sediment entering that charge system. So if you've got leaves or debris and sediments that sit in that charge system for a long period of time before the next rain event, what they do is they have a biochemical reaction and you get the rotten egg smells and discoloured water. And when it rains again, that discoloured water and smells are just, they mix with your rainwater in your storage, and then you have to empty your storage as well. So what you need to do if something like that goes on, you need to probably look at leaf diverters, make sure you've got mesh screens on your inlets and outlets. You need to make sure those types of contaminants aren't entering your tank, because if there's a need to clean your tank, it's telling you there's something wrong with the design and you need to fix that, rather than just saying, I'll keep cleaning it.